So will you commit, if confirmed, to both seeking and following the advice of the department's career ethics officials on whether you must recuse from the special counsel's investigation?
I will seek the advice of the career ethics personnel, but under the regulations, I make the decision as the head of the agency as to my own recusal. So I certainly would consult with them, and at the end of the day, I would make a decision in good faith based on the laws and the facts that are evident at that time.
Same thing if you're talking about a conflict of interest?
Well, no, some conflicts, as you know, are mandatory.
I'm thinking what Attorney General Sessions, and when asked similar question, he said he'll seek and follow the advice of the Department of Justice's designated ethics officials. So let me ask you, maybe in a different way. I know you promised to not interfere with the special counsel. Are there any circumstances that would cause you to terminate the investigation or any component of it, or significantly restrict its funding?
Under the regulations, Bob Mueller could only be terminated for good cause, and frankly, it's unimaginable to me that Bob would ever do anything that gave rise to good cause. But in theory, if something happened that was good cause, for me, it would actually take more than that. It'd have to be pretty grave, and the public interest would essentially have to compel it, because I believe right now the overarching public interest is to allow him to finish.
I would agree with that, but I also think over the past 18 months, you rather harshly prejudged the investigation in some of your writings.
Well, I don't see that at all, Senator. You know, when you strip away a lot of the rhetoric, the two things that have been thrown up as me sort of being antagonistic to the investigation are two things. One, a very mild comment I made that, gee, I wish the team had been more balanced. I wasn't criticizing Mueller. I believe that prosecutors, and I think you would agree, they can handle the case professionally, whatever their politics are. You know, a good prosecutor can leave their politics at the door and go in and do the job. And I think that's what Justice Department prosecutors do in general.
But you also are very critical of the Russian probe. And I mean, I can't think of anything that would, in your memo, for example, that would jump out more for this president because of his commitment to it. And I ask that because some have said on both sides, that it looked like a job application. And so that's what I want you to refer to.
Well, you know, that's ludicrous. If I wanted the job and was going after the job, there are many more direct ways of me bringing myself to the president's attention than writing an 18-page legal memorandum, or sending it to the Department of Justice and routing it to other.
But also publicly criticize the Russian probe. I mean,
how have I criticized the Russian probe?
You don't have any criticism of the Russian probe?
Not at all. I think I believe the Russians interfered or attempted to interfere with the election, and I think we have to get to the bottom of it.
So you would be in favor of releasing the investigative report when it's completed?
As I've said, I'm in favor of as much transparency as there can be, consistent with the rules and the law.
Do you see a case where the president could claim executive privilege and say that parts of the report could not be released?
Well, I don't have a clue as to what would be in the report. The report could end up being, you know, not very big. I don't know what's going to be in the report. In theory, if there was executive privilege material to which an executive privilege claim could be made, it might, you know, someone might raise a claim of executive privilege.
That'd be pretty difficult following U.S. versus Nixon when the Supreme Court unanimously rejected President Nixon's claims of executive privilege over the Watergate tapes. But I ask him because the president's attorney, Mr. Giuliani, said the president should be able to correct the Mueller report before any public release. So in other words, he could take this investigative report, put his own spin on it, and correct it before it's released. Do you commit that would not happen if you were Attorney General?
That will not happen.
Thank you.